is where all the magic happens. We do all of our designs in-house, whether it's cutting, drafting, and also our fitting process, where we try to actually fit most of our products on real women, right, to really fit on their real body and real curves.
Understanding how Asian women want to spend on their wardrobes. This is the formula that has grown this Singapore brand from humble beginnings to over 20 physical shops across Asia. Love Bonito began in 2005 as an online blog shop set up by co-founder Rachel Lim and two friends. They started selling pre-loved clothing and soon spotted a gap in the market.
They were garnering a lot more volumes and sales. That, hey, I think to really give a much better customer experience, you had to create your own brand, right? Because you wanted to tailor the fit, especially in the proportions, to your customer, and you can't do that, right, by just buying and selling products.
So they started making their own fashion items that were tailored for the Asian female and the tropical climate.
So we try to actually be laser focused about who we are, right? Laser focused about who our target audience is, who is the Asian woman. For example, whether it's things like padded tops, for example, right? Padded dresses, where women, if they don't want to wear a bra, don't wear a bra. Southeast Asia is so hot, right? Global warming and so on. And you can still walk around, but still have the Asian, still have that modesty and the coverage as well.
In 2017, the brand expanded from online e-commerce, opening its first brick-and-mortar outlet.
When it comes to clothing and women's clothing specifically, you really want to touch and try the fabric, right, at the clothing end of the day. And even the best sort of fit AI tool doesn't actually do that for you.
Today, the women's wear brand has grown into a multi-million-dollar empire. Dion Song took over the reins as CEO 3 years ago. She's driving the company's international expansion plans.
End of the day, of course, Singapore, it's not the biggest market. We have to look beyond Singapore for a bigger opportunity as well. But again, given that we're online, we could actually observe the signals very well, right? Open up the website to take on international shipping and then see where orders come through. Right, so given also where, I think the founders have a very strong following, we started seeing that, hey, we have customers coming through from Malaysia, from Indonesia, right, from the Philippines, from Hong Kong, from around the region. And then gradually with that, right, use those signals to then see, hey, which market should we double down in?
Many kind of companies in larger countries, where if they're in China, in the US, in Germany, they don't tend to start thinking about the international question immediately. And the reason is because they typically want to establish a strong domestic base for their business before they even think about that question. The reason that question is important for a Singapore company is because the market here is so small. And in fact, many companies, they start their companies on the premise that they will attack the regional or global markets and not just the Singapore domestic market, which is too small to typically sustain a business.
I think that's the challenge that brands in Singapore and Southeast Asia face, right? I think it's not even just about Singapore brand being in a small market, but even for other brands, for example, in Southeast Asia. All of our countries are so diverse and they're totally different, right? Even when it boils down to even just language, right? It's different, right? So it's actually not that easy to operate in. So yeah, it takes a lot more manipulation, planning, or rather planning to actually expand into these markets.
For companies looking at expanding overseas, experts suggest implementing the 3 Ds of expansion. In the discovery stage, the company needs to do a deep dive into the new market. In the developing stage, it then needs flexibility and willingness to adapt to local conditions. The last stage is when companies decide to scale up the new business. Before expanding overseas, Love Bonito made sure they had built a solid business in their home market.
Because if you can't even handle home market, right, and customers are not that happy, or you don't have enough manpower, for example, you probably shouldn't be thinking about opening, that store overseas.
Taking your business global is a big step, and companies need to be ready for the challenges that may lie ahead.
When a company expands overseas, they may come up against these internal challenges around financial and operations. Expanding to a new market can strain financial resources for a young company, especially in the early stages where the new market may not be cash flow or income accretive. currency fluctuations or local economic downturns can also further strain the financial resources of a company. On operations, managing a cross-border business can strain management resources as well. How does a company manage decision-making or information flows? And how does a business manage sales, distribution, and production of an international business?
Whether it's about reinventing retail in Singapore or pushing into new global markets, Dion says some things remain constant. Don't be afraid of change, reward the loyalty of your customer, and know what the customer wants.
Really being very close to the customer, always listening to the pulse of the customer, listening to feedback. By actually speaking to the customer, being there with the community, I think you get a better sense also of the market.